North Carolina?
Now, public education is the most important investment that we can make as a state. And I'm a product of Pitt County Public Schools, and most of you already know this. I'm actually a current student at East Carolina University. I'm in my last semester. And I'm probably the only candidate running anywhere across the state who has had a class canceled as a direct result of cuts in the General Assembly. And that class was state and local politics, which is about as ironic as you can get. But we've seen the cuts left and right. We have cut $76 million from our university system. And we would need to spend $277.2 million more just to meet the same level of service in our K-12 schools as we were at whenever our current round of legislators first took office back in January of 2013. We are not getting this right. ECU is the home of East Carolina Teachers College. If there is one county in the entire state that should be represented by a fierce advocate for public education, it is Pitt County. I've spoken to some people over at the School of Education at ECU, and their enrollment numbers are dropping. They're dropping so fast. And that hurts all of us here. Whenever we can't bring people to this area who want to learn how to be teachers, who want to provide that service. And again, I keep talking about this, but the epitome of the way that we're going is the vouchers program. And we need to make sure we go back and get rid of that unconstitutional law.
Senator Brown, same question. Representative Brown.
I like my upgrade. Look, the way I see it is when you look at education funding in the state of North Carolina, it is an intricate portion of what we're looking to do. The reality is that since Republicans took control back in 2011, we've increased education spending by $1 billion. Those aren't my numbers, those are nonpartisan fiscal research numbers. Almost 60 cents on every single dollar that your tax money is placed into education. Now, the way I see we strengthen it is 3 approaches. Number 1, innovation. Number 2, collaboration. And number 3, choice. We have to innovate in the classroom. We have to get the bureaucracy out of the way, quit having people like me tell teachers what to do in the classroom, quit teaching to test, and allow them to do what they were trained to do, which is teach our kids and to be innovative in that approach. The next thing we need to do is to collaborate. We need to understand that our education system is not a teacher out on an island trying to perform a duty, but collaborating with other teachers, learning best practices, not just within the mortar and bricks between their own schools, but across the state and across the country. And the next thing is choice. Voucher system, that's actually something that's absolutely phenomenal for the future of our state and the future of our country. The ability for you as parents to choose the right educational opportunities for your children. The opportunities for parents to be able to look at their children and say, I'm going to break a cycle of poverty that I've never had an opportunity to do before, regardless of my zip code or the amount of money in my bank account. We campaigned on an all-above energy approach, and we did that. We delivered that. You know, I think that what we've done from an energy perspective is we're looking at all the alternatives, and it's not just fracking. It's solar, it's wind, it's all of those things. But the bottom line is I'm also a realist, and I also understand that I don't believe North Carolina is going to turn into North Dakota when it comes to fracking. The bottom line is that the dollar amounts have shifted to such a low that a lot of those companies, even down in Louisiana Shell, have pulled out of that area and are moving to more beneficial and profitable ventures up in Canada. I don't think it's going to be the next great coming of North Carolina, but I do feel very strongly that we have to continue to look at an all-above energy approach, not only as North Carolina, but as a country, so that we can continue to really create our resources and utilize our resources well right here within our own borders.
Mr. Ward, same question.
Again, first I'd like to address the prior comment, the idea that the voucher program helps to bring people out of poverty. Well, first off, it's a partial scholarship that does not provide enough to help someone who's really poor get through a private education system. And again, it has been ruled unconstitutional, so people who have been brought into that program eventually are not going to be able to do it. They have to pay for it themselves. And do we really want to support a program that's only geared towards a select few, or do we want to make sure that we invest in our public education so that everyone, no matter where their economic standing may be, has the opportunity? Now, as far as fracking or hydraulic fracturing, my family has a farm out in Chatham County, which is where the fracking is most likely going to be. I was born and raised right here in Pitt County. That's where my family's from. And my grandmother lives up there, and she lives off well water. So this is a very personal issue for me. This has not worked in other states. It's incredibly dangerous. And we have not seen any reason to believe it's going to be any less dangerous for North Carolina. And we need to make sure that we protect our environment because it is such a huge economic engine for the state. We make so much off of tourism. I mean, we need to make sure we preserve that.
Representative Martin.
Anyone who represents this area needs to make sure that they stay in contact with our Bodie School of Medicine, with ECU, and make sure that they advocate on behalf of their best interests. But right now, the thing that our current legislature has gotten so very wrong for this area is the Medicaid expansion. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with that issue. We decided to reject it whenever we should have accepted it. We had the opportunity to bring in $51 billion of money into the state over 10 years. And because we decided to reject that, our local medical community is struggling. Now, you all know that here. We're struggling right now. Ask any local doctor, ask anyone with the School of Medicine. We are struggling to get by because we decided to reject the Medicaid expansion. That was an irresponsible move, and we need to go back and accept those funds as soon as possible.
Representative Brown, same question.
I'm going to gamble a minute, and I hope that we have a Medicaid expansion question coming, and I'm going to address a specific question, which is funding for East Carolina University and Vidant Medical Center. As many of you know, this was my passion project coming into the short session. I stood up against my Republican leadership and voted no for the budget in the long session because of the funding cuts that took place for East Carolina University's Brody School of Medicine and Vidant Medical Center. And we went on a very long tour, and a tour of educating legislators across the state. Educating them on the differences right here in Eastern North Carolina. We had to educate them that East Carolina's University's Brody School is different than UNC. We don't own a hospital. That SOPCA provision, the Set-Off Debt Collection Act, is a fundamental, vital economic driver to keep the liquidity of our university system. And the Vidant medical system, as well as the Brody relationship, that is the economic engine of the eastern part of the state. A $2.5 billion economic engine for this state. We battle for it. And we put ourselves into a proactive position, a position where leaders across the state are looking at this public-private partnership that exists between ECU and Vidant as a benchmark of things to do across this state.
Closing statement.
Thank you. I am Representative Brian Brown. First of all, I want to thank you again for coming out and sharing the afternoon with us to hear what we've done and what our plans are. Thank you to the Chamber again for hosting this, and probably most importantly, thank you to my opponent for stepping out and running. I know firsthand it's not an easy thing to do. And I can never go through an event, as you know, without thanking my wife because, well, I wouldn't be here if she wouldn't allow me to do this, that's for sure. She puts up with more than anybody else. Guys, I ran for public office not to be a politician. I ran for public office because I was tired of a grease truck pulling up to the back of my restaurant, not pulling the hose off the truck, but charging me $253 a week. $253 a week that I wanted to give to an employee. I ran for public office because I had to lay off employees because of government regulations. I ran for public office because I was concerned about the social future of my children. That's why I ran for public office. We've done some tremendous things in this state, but there are some really important things we need to continue. Medicaid, it is our fiscal cliff in North Carolina. We have got to create some predictability. We have got to focus on patient outcomes and drive the cost of providing care down in our state. Transportation is essentially vital. We've got to complete the Southwest Bypass. We've got to create connectivity to our bases and to our ports. Not only the Morehead City port, but also our internal port at the Global Transport. And we've got to focus on our educational future. K-12, community college, and our university system. We've got to continue to strive for innovation. We've got to continue on our course, not only at college readiness, but career readiness. Again, thank you very much for coming out today. My name is Brian Brown. I'm asking for your vote to return to Raleigh. Thank you.
Mr. Ward, your closing statement.
Again, thank you all so much for putting this together. Thank you to Representative Brown for coming out and engaging with this conversation. Thanks to the Chamber for putting this event together. Now, the way I see it, this election specifically is going to come down to one key thing. When I look at public education, I don't see something that we need to save our children from. I see something we can save them with. That is the big difference in this campaign. And we've spoken some about the issues, and I know what a lot of you guys here think. Now, I agree with this guy, but he seems a little bit young. I want to address that. Now, my opponent mentioned experience early on as one of his qualifications. But when it comes to experience in the community, bringing people together, working for Pitt County, I'm not the inexperienced candidate in this race. Before my opponent ran, he was not civically engaged, and I was. I've managed several successful campaigns. I've worked in community organizations. I've served as the president of the Down East Range, a community service organization, as well as the chair-elect of a local commission. Before my opponent ran, he voted in only half of elections, and I voted in every single one. Whenever you're looking for someone who's going to be committed to Pitt County, who's been working consistently to try and better his community, I am reliable, and I will work for Pitt County as much as I can for as long as you'll have me. Thank you so much again for everyone for being here, and please let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you or if you have any questions at all. Thank you.
This concludes our candidates forum. On behalf of the chamber,